Hello and welcome to Be Confused with your anonymous host.
Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm tired. Today was I spit all over myself. You saw that?
No.
Today was a long day at work.
I was sitting in the
and
meeting
I'm tired.
and I was looking down and I felt myself starting to drool and I was like, imagine if people saw you fucking drooling in the meeting.
That happens
You're
to
a
me all the
professional.
time. Yeah, happens to me all the time. I'm actually right now. I'm looking up to see how many episodes we've done. I'm
31.
31. You checked it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. And so, what do you want to talk about today?
Okay.
How are you, actually?
I'm good.
You're
I'm
good.
excited. I
Excited for
only
what?
have a half day tomorrow until I go to Greece. And I'm just excited. So these are my late night thoughts. Okay. Have you seen Sinners?
No, but you highly recommended it, right?
I don't like highly recommending things because I don't know if people will see it the way I saw, but I feel like there was a really powerful scene where this guy was dancing, not dancing, he was singing, and then people around him were dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a black guy, and it's back in 1932.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't seen Sinners, I guess this is part of a spoiler thing. So skip ahead. Should I say it? Do you want me to tell you or?
No, I want to see it.
But... Okay, so then it's just a very powerful scene when the guy is singing, when both guys are singing. There's a white guy and there's a black guy. And when they were singing, I don't know why, it was just super powerful. Okay, yeah. And we're going to see it again tonight.
That's crazy. You're going to see a movie literally the next.
And we're paying $20.
Wow.
Yesterday we paid $5.
Is that good? Okay, well, I guess it's not that bad.
Yeah, but still $20 each. That's insane. So my thing is, with a specific group of people, I feel like they're very traumatized. And what are you writing?
Not just ideas.
Okay. So I feel like they're very traumatized.
Who?
A specific group of people. And you can insert whatever group of people you feel like works for this. But I feel like this specific group of people, they're very traumatized. And throughout history and throughout time right now, they've re-traumatized themselves and they're traumatizing other people.
Okay, so today you want to talk about a group of people and their trauma.
Yeah, and how they traumatize other people.
And how they traumatize other people.
What do you think about that? Groups of people who are not healing from their own trauma and then perpetuating that trauma onto other people.
Oh, it sounds like it sucks.
Can you identify any group of people that we know? Also, I'm eating chips. I'm sorry for the crunching.
The black community. They've gone through a lot of trauma, systematic, history. We can see all the struggles they went through. Do you think somehow that trauma that they faced throughout history is reflected today?
How?
I don't know. I'm asking.
No, I don't think it's black people.
But you don't think that trauma that they went through has an effect on today? Like their mentality sometimes, their attitude towards life.
Okay, so we can use black people. I also feel that they haven't had the opportunity to heal because they've been gentrified. Is that the word? What is gentrified?
I know what you're. It's like when they group a specific community or they take out people for. I don't know how to define it.
Yeah, like communities kind of come in and take over.
Something like
and
that.
So they're pushed out because they can't pay for the land. Then there's generational poverty where they are not like there. I saw this TikTok and there was this lady. She's like, there was a place called Rosewood, where it's a predominantly black community, and white people burned it down. So it's like, I feel like if they were given the opportunity, they could thrive and prosper and kind of live their own life. But I feel like they are not given the opportunity to heal.
Yeah, and
So then what do you do in that situation when you're not given the opportunity to heal?
unfortunately, when you've gotten so much trauma and you talk about generational poverty,
Mm-hmm.
is it more like the mentality of it?
Both.
Well,
The
so
actuality
so
of
that's a
it and the
consequence of
mentality of it.
that's a consequence of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
You stick with this mentality that I'm this way. This is how society sees me, and you don't know any other way of how to live. So that's a consequence of trauma. Is that
Mm-hmm.
what you're trying to say as
I was
well?
talking about white
Yeah.
people.
Oh, about white people.
Yeah. How
I knew
white
that. I
people?
wanted to throw you
I
off
know.
there because
Oh, you knew that? Oh, you knew that?
no, yeah, no, I knew you were gonna go through the route of talking about white people and how their trauma and they affect it. But I think yes, but also there's
But
a
you
lot of
wanted to give me
trauma.
a little.
But I also think that there's a lot of trauma from African Americans or Black
Mm-hmm.
people in the United States because of all that what they went through. And I'm not saying that it's their fault that they're where they at,
Yeah.
because what happened to them and historically it's not their fault.
So
But
how do
with
they
that
heal from that?
mentality,
How do they heal from that mentality? You can't.
so all the things that, well, I don't want to say all, but the main thing, and you know what I'm going to say, education, and how are they avoiding for the community for the Black people to recover from that? They're taking away history stuff.
Mm-hmm. They're taking away Department of
They're
Education,
taking away
so public
books,
schools.
stories about Black
Mm-hmm.
empowerment and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So they know that the solution to that is education, and they're going to take that away. So in your face, it's education, the answer to everything. Boom.
It is, but I
If,
still think there's
if it
something
would
before that.
if it wasn't so important, if there's something else,
It's
why
not that it's
why
not
are they
important.
attacking so much the universities,
It's
the
not that it's
school
not important.
system?
It is 100%. I'm agreeing
Yeah,
with you that education is
yeah, but,
important.
but what else is there if it's not the
Reflecting that there's a need for education. Realizing that
everyone knows it? Like, look at our scores and
people do not know it. Do you know how many kids flunk out of school because they don't give a shit about it and their parents don't care
because
about school?
the school system is flawed as well. Like, that's something that I agree with the Republicans. School system right now, it sucks.
And I taught at a
However, I don't
private.
think the solution is privatizing schools.
No, because they're doing the same shit.
Mhm.
At the private school that I taught at, they literally told us to fake grades. Don't give anybody anything under a 70.
That's insane.
I had one kid doing 2 math problems and another one doing like 15. And that's what I was taught as a teacher to do. And this kid is just stumbling through life with 2 math problems. And he also wrote really big. Like on one piece of paper, he would write the 2 math problems.
Insane.
And he was in 8th grade.
Jesus.
And I was
You
taught, I
think
was
he made it to
instructed.
college?
It's been a year or something, so he's probably in 10th grade. But his parents are paying for that school. They're getting thousands of dollars. For what? So it's only about money. It doesn't.
Mhm.
Nobody gives a shit about education and actually having proper fact-based education.
I think it's less about money. Well, yes, about money, but I think it's more about control. And how do you control a whole country
Control for what?
for power? How do you control them? Keep them dumb.
Money is power, though. If you're smart, you're not going to buy
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
system,
yeah,
and you're not
exactly.
going to.
But it's not because they want to buy stuff. It's because they want to have power. How do you get power with money?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you get power? By keeping people dumb. I mean, how do you control people? By keeping them dumb.
Why do they want all of our money, though?
Because money is power, and they want power.
They have the power. They're billionaires. I'm never going to be a billionaire.
They
I'm never
want
going
more
to have that
power.
power. That doesn't make sense. Then that's telling me that the power that they have already is not enough for them, and so it will never be enough for
It will
them.
never be enough. Yeah. So it'll end
So
once
that's
they suck every
cent, and then
cent. I
what?
don't know. Everything will go to shit. Yeah. In the Bible, one of them, a famous verse. I don't know for what book, but it says that money is the root of all evil.
Yeah, 100%. I believe
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Bible has some pretty good facts.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does. Okay, so let's go to what I was talking about, white people.
Yeah. So I think it's a combination of both, because it's hard for me to see compare the trauma that white people have historically faced to the trauma that Black people have faced
White people,
historically. or any minority.
traumatized other white people.
Yeah, yeah.
White people used to like murder and kill and torture other white people. So it's not, it's like
I
they
mean,
did it to
but
themselves
that's something that happened, and it's
everywhere.
everywhere.
Hmm.
Indigenous with other indigenous,
Yeah.
in India with other Indians,
Why'd you say Indian?
Uh, India in
Hmm.
India with
Hmm.
other
Hmm.
countries.
Hmm.
China, oh my God, China was horrible.
Yeah. I mean,
Japan was
literally
insane.
the last like 20 years they had the one child policy.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it as an excuse that other people did it. It's okay. It's wrong, but I don't think it's a white person problem per se. And I'm just thinking about this right now.
But I feel like white people run the
So
globe, or they think that
I
they
don't
do.
I don't think so. There's more people, but yeah, yeah. But I guess
There's
more
more
likely
people in Asian
countries.
countries.
I don't know. You hear the door?
Pause it.
But yeah, you know what I mean. So I agree
Yeah.
with you. Like in the United States, the problem, the I think there is some type of evident white supremacy. But to
But I think
label it
that's
as a white people
everywhere.
problem, I think that's where people start disconnecting with the idea and they don't do much about it. So
I'm not saying that it's a
how
problem.
else
I'm
would you
saying that
frame
white
it?
people are traumatized and they need to get help
I would
to
say
heal
people
their
in power
trauma.
are traumatized.
I think white people are traumatized and they don't realize it.
Okay, who do you think is more traumatized? Black people
I'm not
or
saying about
white people?
more. I'm not
Okay.
saying about more. I don't think that enough people realize how even if we use men, I don't think enough men realize how traumatized they are. And men are the dominating force in the world, just like white people are the dominating force. Who lives in the richest countries? Are there Africans? Are there black people there living in the richest countries? No, because they were pillaged by who?
Men?
White people. Close. Um, and I think all of that murdering that they have done and how they, even if we just talk about our country here, all of the murdering, the brutalization, they used to eat babies, black babies. They used to feed them to alligators. They used to pour uh, acid in pools, in black pools. You don't think that sort of behavior affects you later on in your generational lineage going forward?
Yes, but I don't think it's related to trauma.
What would you say it is?
I don't know. But it just for me, like right now, it's like it doesn't click. Like,
Hmm.
but maybe you're right. It's just maybe I'm not seeing it like right.
So, what do you think it is then? So, when I'm telling you, okay,
I think it's human nature,
these
and
people
human nature doesn't mean that it's correct.
is traumatizing. Human just living is traumatizing.
I think yeah, it's part of human nature, and we need to fight these drives
But
that we
how can
have.
we fight it if we don't acknowledge it?
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. That's always been the battle, and I think, and that's why, you know, even though I kind of believe in our constitution because it's kind of the closest thing that we have to constantly to change it, to improve it, to become better, to be where we are today. Like yes, this sucks right now, it's getting pretty bad, but compared to other places, I think we are pretty close to. I mean, Canada's doing pretty well in other places, but
I feel like that's such an abusive perspective, though. If you're
I'm
like,
not
oh,
saying
my husband doesn't hit me, he's verbally abuses you, he mentally abuses you, he gaslights you, he does all this stuff, but he doesn't hit. Well, I mean, Susie down the road gets hit by
no, but
her
I'm not
husband.
saying. I don't think I'm saying it like. I'm, I don't
I
think
f-
I'm meaning that.
okay, so that's what I'm getting. So what are you meaning then?
Why did you
I
get
just
that?
feel like when you're saying like we have it good,
No,
we
no.
don't have it good. We do. I am very aware that we are so privileged in this
Mhm.
country.
And that's what I
Sitting
mean.
here,
It,
sitting here, free speech. I
we are,
mean, that's kind of
mhm.
limited right
Yeah,
now, but
we are privileged. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't fight
more.
for more or for basic rights that we still need and other minorities need as well. That's not what I'm saying. But I emphasize that we're privileged because sometimes I feel like you see this
Black and white.
black and white.
Ooh, actually, you're not supposed to use that because black and white interprets good and bad. But binary thinking, I have very much binary thinking.
Okay,
It's either this or that. Yeah.
sure. This so that's why I sometimes may seem like I'm challenging you, but I just want to. It's not that.
Yeah, but I don't get you then. So
What
I don't
part?
get. So my interpretation was if you're getting abused by your husband, but you don't think it's that bad because he's not hitting you, and you're looking down the road and you're like, but they they get hit, so I'm not going to complain. I
No,
feel
we
like
should
that's what I
complain.
interpreted from what you were saying.
No, then well,
Okay, so
I
then can
do
you
agree that we
explain?
should complain.
Okay, but then what happens when complaining gets us in trouble, and then we start to get hit? Because I feel like that's what's happening
Well,
now.
we take the hits if we're willing to.
Take the hits.
I mean, the people that made the changes to this country were willing to fight for what they thought was right and take whatever consequences came. And unfortunately, we're I feel like we're getting back to that point, and we're gonna have to have people that are willing to do that.
And die.
I don't know if I'm willing to, but if we get to that point, I'd be willing. I would think that I we willing to.
So what do you mean you're willing to? What does that mean? What is that point?
I'm willing to keep speaking up for myself
Even
and
if you
advocate.
get even if you get deported to somewhere where you don't belong.
I'm speaking right now from the comfort of a seventh floor office with air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but
But that's
I
where
would
they're
like
going to
to
get
think
you
yes.
because we have this podcast and it's anonymous, but nothing's really anonymous at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We have this podcast and we're speaking up on the injustices of the world throughout our podcast. There have been people who wrote letters urging their university, like, hey, talk about Palestine, talk about what's happening in Gaza. Um, there have been people who were on the day of their naturalization. They did all the whole process. They did everything right. The day they went to the office to get naturalized, they got arrested. So like it's happening now. It's like
Yeah.
you can go outside to the first floor outside and get arrested or get taken.
Sometimes I think it's a little. It is real for a lot of people, but I think sometimes like news they make it seem they exaggerate it more,
But
and
I
I
feel
don't.
like for me, even if it's happening to one or two or three people,
Mhm.
that's too many.
It is too many. Yeah, it is too many.
And
But
so I can't. So okay, so
one is
sorry.
too
Finish
many.
your finish your
Yeah.
thought.
No.
So
Yeah, I think
it's
that's
the
it.
news. No, the news is doing this, and then what? What's the effect of the news sharing this narrative?
I mean, this is long shot, but this is what I think. They create fear,
Mm-hmm.
and
I agree.
they create fear. And what's the point of fear? So to have people
To be controlled,
to
it's
be
easier to
to stay
control
quiet,
people. Yeah,
for the
yeah.
opinions, for the people that have a voice and that have power, to be afraid of using their voice and staying quiet. And I think that's the point for all that. I'm not saying that it's not happening. I'm just saying that they're making it louder.
So why would the news?
I don't
Why
know.
would
It's
the
just my
news do
opinion. I
that?
don't know why.
No, I feel like
Yeah.
that's true. I feel like
Mhm.
honestly, we're living in Monsters Inc. Like they want the screams because that runs
Their world.
the world,
Mm-hmm.
but also laughs run the world too.
Hmm?
Laughs,
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't get why they're doing it.
I don't get it either. I think it's human nature. Like if you look history of like the fucking world, everything has to do with someone colonizing another person and killing and dominating because of power, money,
Is it about
religion.
power? Is it about fear? Do you think that when they come over and they
I think it's
colonize
a
and they
combination of money, power, religion.
religion is crazy?
Yeah.
Religion is crazy that we're killing people where Jesus was born. Like if that's supposed to be a birthplace of your whole entire religion, do you think that's where the killing should be? Like that's weird. That's why I don't believe in religion because it's just weird.
Yeah. It is confusing. I wish we could talk to like a historian or someone that could maybe give their opinion on
Do
these
you have
things.
any contacts at UCF?
I have a guy who's really good. He's from Puerto Rico. He speaks English. He majored in philosophy and history.
Do you
And
want to ask him if he wants to be a guest?
I would
That'd be
love, yeah,
cool.
yeah, but I don't know.
Because I have a lot of questions, and they might sound stupid, but I just don't get a lot of what's going on in this world.
Yeah, I would love to have him as a guest, but I get a little embarrassed. I don't know.
Okay. Why are you
I
embarrassed?
don't know.
But like what? That they'll
But
make
he,
fun of you?
yeah,
Aw, that you have this little podcast.
yeah,
We have 13 followers. Did you know that?
yeah. It's been like that for a long while.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, I was just trying to celebrate.
yeah. So please follow us, like us, share us.
Yeah. I think we need to have a guest. Oh, we kind of had a guest. We had like a virtual guest. Okay.
Yeah, but it didn't. It was never posted.
It wasn't? No. My
Oh,
friend
then who?
on
Oh,
my
yeah,
phone.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no.
yeah. That one, yeah. But yeah, this conversation was difficult.
Was it?
Yeah, it was hard because I'm always trying to like put out the like the different, the opposite, not the opposite,
That's fine. I need that because I do have
but
very
I didn't
binary
want to be in
thinking.
the other side. I want to be in. I want you to be in the other side.
Well, I'm always on the side of right. Oh, that's something I wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
You told me that I reminded you of somebody who thinks that they're a no, or you perceive as a know-it-all. Do you know who that person is?
I didn't. I told you that you seem like a know-it-all,
You said that I remind you of somebody who is a know-it-all, or you perceive as a know-it-all.
but you. Okay, but I didn't say the know-it-all part.
I think you alluded to me being a know-it-all.
I think I would have remembered if that's what you. It's is that what you got from what I said? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
no. But yeah,
because
you do
I
remind
don't
me.
know a
But you do
lot.
remind me of that person.
Because of what? Because I'm like, it's about you.
I don't know what it is.
I think it was because you said it was a know-it-all person. But I
Okay,
don't really
well,
know it all, and I acknowledge that. But also, when I do say I know stuff, I know it.
mm, well, I don't think you're a know-it-all. I
Okay,
think that when you have a
we can end it
thought,
there.
I think when you have a thought, you have a really hard time thinking differently.
Yeah. Or I do. I think the complete opposite. Like I'll think either this or I'll die, or
Uh
like
huh.
this or the end of the world.
Yeah, you don't have
Yeah.
space for skepticism sometimes, or skepticism in your own views.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
You don't. You're really loyal
To me? Okay, I'll take
to
that.
your view of to your understanding of things.
How so? I feel like okay, like that's just my thought.
The conversation we just had, that you think everything is because of white men or white people,
I
trauma
didn't
from white
say
people.
that. I said a lot of white people have a lot of trauma that they haven't acknowledged. And I think that's
I
true.
think a lot of people have a lot of trauma that they haven't
I
acknowledged.
know that. I know that. I'm
But yeah,
acknowledging that everybody else has trauma. I'm just saying that there's a population of men, there's a population of white people that have not even considered that maybe killing people or whipping people or ripping skin off of people, slaves, because they did this stuff,
mhm.
adversely affected them.
Okay, so what is trauma?
I don't know. Trauma is just anything that really severely impacts you.
Let's see. Let's define
Yeah,
trauma to
ask your
have a
best
better.
friend, what is trauma?
Give me 1 second. What is trauma?
I also think that maybe like people, I think like African American studies should be mandatory for this country because that's what happened to our country. That's American history.
Okay, so trauma is a psychological and emotional response to an event or experience that is deeply distressing or disturbing. It
Okay.
can result from a single incident, like an accident or an assault, or ongoing stress, such as abuse, neglect, or living in a war zone. Trauma can affect a person's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, often causing a sense of helplessness, fear, or loss of control.
Okay, so then maybe it's not trauma, but what would you say it?
No, that's
What
what
do
I'm
you think
saying.
what do you think that Me,
So that's what I like. That when I was saying comparing it to African American, so I think trauma is experience that the people that is
have
being that is
towards them.
towards them. Yeah,
So
like this way.
what is something that you, if I were to brutalize everybody in this building, do you think anything happens to me? Do you think there's any sort of trauma or anything else that happens to me that can later on affect me negatively?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
If I were to murder everybody in this building,
Mm-hmm.
do you think there's any negative impact? Not or murder or harm in some way, right? Because I'll have trauma or I'll be giving them trauma, right? I'm murdering them or I'm hurting them or you just witnessed a murder. What happens to me from doing and being part of that violence?
So you're saying that you've become a victim after killing a bunch of people?
No, I'm asking what happens to me. Do you think I'm not traumatized from that murder or do you what is that thing that happens or do I just go on with my day? Like what happens to people who are violent or people who are murderers or people who are rapists? Do they not get traumatized from the actions that they're doing? Is trauma only received?
I'm not sure,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's the what happens to them is the same. It's the same thing that happens to the people that they hurt.
So then
Or
maybe that's my question.
okay,
What is it called when
we can try
people.
and check
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
opinion for ChatGPT.
How much time are we at?
We are at 26
Okay.
minutes. We have time. What was the question?
So, what is the negative impact on the person or people who are murderers or violent or savage or whatever word you want to use?
So basically, do they experience trauma?
Or something to that, something similar. Or is there a word for it? Maybe it's not trauma.
Is there a word for it? Let's see. Yes, people who commit violent or cruel acts, including murder or extreme aggression, can experience psychological consequences as well, though they may look different from the trauma experienced by victims. This isn't always the case, but when it does happen, it can be complex and often hidden. There are a few terms and concepts that describe this.
Ooh.
Perpetrator trauma, perpetrator-induced traumatic stress, PITS. There's another concept called moral injury, another concept called callous unemotional traits in some cases. In summary, yes, people who harm others can experience trauma-like symptoms, especially if they were coerced, conditioned, or later regret their actions. And that's what I mean. Because when we're talking about,
Let's
I
say
don't know.
Ted Bundy. He's a murderer. He's a serial killer. Okay.
But he was, I think he was either a sociopath or a psychopath.
Okay.
So he didn't feel guilt or remorse.
Okay, so that's not a good one. Mm-hmm. Let's just say somebody who's murdering people, a school shooter. Mm-hmm. What is the trauma that a school shooter gets from murdering all these people?
I don't think it's trauma. I think it's conditioning.
What do you mean?
They're conditioning, like they're
no after the shooting.
After the shooting,
I'm sure conditioning is before. Oh. Yeah.
So like, wait, but let me finish this. People who harm others can experience trauma-like symptoms, especially if they're coerced. Blah blah. However, not all violent individuals feel this. Some may be detached or even justified.
Or even feel justified.
Or even. What was the other question?
So, I think it's just perpetrator trauma or moral injury. Elaborate more on moral injury. I think that's a real thing that I haven't.
So moral injury. This is damage to a person's moral or ethical code when they commit, witness, or fail to prevent actions that violate deeply held beliefs. It's common in soldiers, law enforcement, or anyone forced into violent or ethically ambiguous situations. It doesn't always lead to PTSD, but it can cause deep guilt, shame, loss of meaning and purpose, depression.
So that's not it.
So the perpetrator trauma refers to psychological distress experienced by individuals who have caused harm, particularly in violent or military context. It's been observed in soldiers, executioners, and even people involved in gang violence. It may involve guilt and shame, intrusive memories or flashback, emotional numbness, depersonalization or disconnection from reality, or
Okay.
self-destructive. So I don't think this
So
falls
I
into.
think it's that one. So let's say that these slave owners, and I'm bringing this back to sinners. So that's why I was thinking about this. These slave owners, maybe their genes, like epigenetics, that's a thing, right? When you're significantly traumatized, which even though it's perpetrator trauma, it's still a traumatization. When you're significantly traumatized, or something happens to you, your genes can switch. That's what epigenetics is. Very, very basic. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Passing that on, because some of these people were alive when slaves were around and stuff like that, with segregation and all of that. Passing that on, if they hadn't healed, don't you think that's a generational trauma that is,
I think that
because it's not.
they may have a predisposition, but they, for example, I don't know if we spoke about this in an episode, but let's say my great grandfather was a smoker, smoked cigarettes, packet cigarettes every day.
Mm-hmm.
I could be genetically predisposed
Predisposed
to that. However, if I'm
because,
not exposed to cigarettes socially my whole life, it's very not very likely that I
but if you
develop
were
it.
around grandpa, you would have
No,
been
but my great
exposed.
great great grandfather. So I
Okay.
wasn't. So I'm genetically predisposed to it. But if I don't have the social situation that exposed me to that, or someone close to me did it, or I grew up in an environment where I learned that smoking is bad, the social and the biological aspect, because since I've never been exposed to it while I was alive, I don't have the desire for it. So the chances for me to do that are very low. So I think that happens in very specific situations. Let's say my great grandfather was a smoker. Then I grew up with my dad also smoking. He smoked in the car, so I was secondhand smoking until I
And so
was
that triggered
18.
it.
Then I went to college. I saw my dad maybe smoking every time he was stressed or fought with my mom. Now every time that I'm stressed, I smoke. So there was the perfect cocktail,
Mm-hmm.
that made me a smoker.
Okay,
I
so
was
let's,
genetically, socially, and psychologically
yeah,
um,
okay. So
brought to
let's
that.
say with like slave owners. So let's go back 3 generations is generous. So
Sure,
not
I don't
this
know.
person right here, not your dad, but grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
or would it be one more for slave
I'm
owners?
not sure.
I don't know either. Let's just say three generations. So if your grandfather, so you have your grandpa, your dad, and you. If your grandfather was a slave owner, used to have slaves, beat them, whip them, all that stuff, murdered them sometimes because they tried to escape, um, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the middle of his slave ownershipness,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, segregation, slaves are free, sure, right? Then he has your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Your grandfather has never healed
Mm-hmm.
from the perpetrator trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, or the moral injury, because he's a Christian man or whatever, whatever, whatever. So he hasn't done the work to heal and realize, like, oh, okay, well, Black people are people and they should be able to do
Yeah.
whatever they want. Even though your dad did not witness, because he was born after segregation, even though your dad didn't witness it, do you not think that your grandfather's shit was kind of pushed onto your dad?
Genetically, I guess he's predisposed to that type of behavior. But let's say a black person,
Mm-hmm.
they were held slaves their whole their whole generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2025.
Mm-hmm.
They live in a pretty nice neighborhood. They have money,
Mm-hmm.
successful job. They're a
Mm-hmm.
businessman. They have kids, and their kids are going to grow up around that, and they're probably not going to have that mentality, because even though they have that genetically, predisposed that mentality of what they're worth socially, the expectations that society have against them. Compare that to someone that was raised in a low income neighborhood with gangs and all that. Genetically they have the same background.
Okay,
Genetically
so
they're
then not
predisposed to that.
genetically then. Maybe not genetically.
So I no, yes, but it, well, yes, and genetically, and also it has to do in the environment that they were raised.
Yeah.
So
So don't you think
if
your
the white
grandpa,
person,
your grandpa,
uh-huh,
it was the slave owner and he never got help for his after slave owners anonymous or
uh-huh,
whatever. That anger, that violence, whatever,
if
whatever.
that white person is in a position of power, that he takes advantage of people, and he kind of does, modern day slavery, and the kids are raised in that. I think there's more predisposition for him to be raised that way. You get what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
there's also white people that they don't grow up in successful um, home environments, and they have a completely different lifestyle and view on life. And
So, have you ever read It Didn't Start With You?
sounds familiar, but I don't think I've read
So,
it.
it's basically saying generational trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So, with your grandpa, he was a slave owner, and then he had issues raising your father, and your father took your grandpa's issues, made them his own issues,
Mm-hmm.
and perpetuated them onto you. That's generational trauma. That's perpetrator trauma. And you have perpetrator trauma from your grandpa years ago.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like sometimes when I talk about white people or men, it's like, oh, you don't like them. And yeah, sure, I don't. Look at the history.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the history. I have a right to not like these people. But I also think it's like they're human beings and they're very unhealed human beings. And I think if they start healing, I wouldn't not like them as much.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
Do
that's
you
my.
think, and this is, do you think like if these people they really knew the harm that they're doing, or the reason they act the way they act, or a little bit more about the history, do you think they would continue to act this way? I
That's where
think
I
not.
think.
I
That's where I
think the
think.
majority would not keep acting that way. So that's why
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
That's why
defend them.
that's where we need
Mm-hmm.
education.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I think, what is our government doing taking away education? What is our government doing taking away African American studies? What is our government doing burning books? Why are we doing this? It's only traumatizing more and more generations. What are we doing that for? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're doing
I
it
don't
to keep people dumb
and
in
uncontrolled. Yeah,
control. Yeah, to keep that mentality.
that's insane.
Yeah.
Why does everybody want control? I thought God gave us free will. This is like a false control.
No, yeah, and we are affected by our free will and the consequences that we bring upon ourselves, and we're affected with others people's free will as well.
Which doesn't make sense. Again, I don't like that
I mean,
part
free will is free will. It's just fair.
Oh my god, your anniversary is on the 31st?
Yeah.
Mine is on the 21st and the 28th.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's cute.
So we're almost in 40 minutes, so let's end this.
Okay.
I have a headache. This was a hard one.
This was a good one, though.
Yeah.
I really liked it. $4 never tasted so good.
Oh, hurry up. I'm about to run out of battery.
Okay. Loyalty means I am down with whatever. Wait. Your hardest times often lead to the greatest moments of your life. Keep the faith. It will all be worth it in the end. Bye.
Bye.